We'll be getting ready to start the press conference in a minute. This is Connie Odom with Williamson County Public Affairs. If you have a question that you would like to ask, then please put that in the chat. I will read those questions at the end and ask either Judge Gravel, Sheriff Gleason, or EMS Director Knipstein to answer the question. So just remember to put that in the chat. And now here is County Judge Bill Gravel.
All right, I just want to make sure, Michelle, can you hear me?
I can, Judge. You sound great.
Good. I want to say good Friday afternoon to all of you, and I want you to know that I've seen firsthand the suffering of our residents from a lack of heat and water, and we've seen the suffering for several days, and we'll see the suffering in the days to come from the property damage that will be incurred. I've talked with our county employees who are dealing with really complicated things like no power and water at home, but yet they're coming to work and they're serving as first responders to protect our community. Our community's made better because of their sacrifice. Even here at Emergency Management, our 911 staff has literally been sleeping here in the facility now for 8 days, making sure their systems are up and running. And as county judge, I'm inspired by their sacrifice and by their hard work and by their compassion. We've had essential workers that have been working tirelessly to fix broken water lines and broken pipes at home and even here on county facilities. You know, just yesterday at our Florence shelter, I had really the privilege to speak with a woman along with her husband, and they were there to pick up some gasoline, and I thought it was for their generator, but when I inquired, she said, no, sir, it's actually for a pickup truck. And a wonderful lady, it had been difficult days, and she walked back over and said, sir, do you have a funnel? And I said, no, ma'am, I don't have a funnel. And she said, well, we can't pour the gas in our truck. And so we got her another gas can. We began to pour the gas in there. And a wonderful person, she said, could we just go inside and get a cup of coffee? Would that be okay? And she just began to cry. And her father in another county had passed away this past Tuesday, and really complicated for she and her husband, and the only way that they could stay warm was by sleeping in their truck. So we made sure they had enough gas last night, but the great news is today is that the power is on in the Florence area. It's been that type of sacrifice and pain that I've seen, but the resilience of our community to come together and to work together and to serve together, the response has just been amazing, and it's been incredible. But I would expect nothing less from the people of Williamson County. Our sheriff and our sheriff's office has done really an amazing job, and I've asked our sheriff to be here today to give you an update on all of the hard work that they've been a part of in the last 5 or 6 days. Sheriff Gleason. You guys be patient with us. We're just trying to get the camera focused in the emergency command center And we're grateful to our IT team and our tech team. They've done an amazing job making sure that all of our stuff works. It's really important to have technology in the middle of a disaster. They've been phenomenal with that. Sheriff Gleason.
Thank you, Judge. During the last week, we've deployed all of our assets throughout the county and had them stationed in various locations to respond to in-progress calls only and maintain stationary status to avoid injury to our staff. We actually worked 91 collisions, 34 assist citizens, 138 welfare concerns, 323 911 hangups, 203 separate traffic hazards for a total of 1,792 calls that we responded to since the storm event occurred. Our corrections folks running the jail, we've been on regular power and generator power to maintain the safety and security of the facility and the health and welfare of all of our inmates. We've had to move some inmates around to kind of follow the heat and keep them safe. We've been staffed with over the normal amount of people to provide extra blankets, food, and assistance however they were needed. And mattresses and staffing and water were also provided by corrections officers who ran all these supplies to our Florence Middle School during their warming center and shelter. That's all we have, Judge.
All right, thank you, Sheriff. Now our director of our EMS system, Mike Knipstein. Mike, I know you've been up all night, and thank you for being here, even as you struggle through water-related issues at your home. I'm glad you serve our Williamson County, and as soon as this is over with, the sheriff and I will roll up our sleeves and come and help you with your water, brother. You have my word. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Judge. Michelle, I just want to confirm that you can hear me.
I can, Mike. Thank you.
Excellent. So for EMS, we saw about a 90% increase in calls from if we compare it to last year. So with that, I just got to give a huge thanks to our paramedics for their work. During this time, since February 10th, we've responded to 842 calls for service. The number 2 reason for calls was falls. And we are still continuing to see quite a few fall-related calls today, even with the thaw out. So please, I'm just urging everybody. I know you're going to want to get out, assess everything, and get out and enjoy the beautiful sunlight. But please be careful as you get out, because that still puts a tremendous amount of strain on our system. Again, huge shout out to our paramedics. They stayed and slept overnight in the stations to keep the ambulances running, and many of them worked extremely long hours. Whether it was 3 p.m. or 3 a.m., they were there to respond to any 911 call. Our community health paramedics, we knew that long-term care facilities would be a concern, and so they immediately stepped up and started contacting them to determine any needs that they had and tried to meet those needs, whether it be fuel, water, or warming, and they did an outstanding job with that. One of the things that we did run into was people that are oxygen dependent. Because of the lack of electricity, their oxygen condensers would not work. So our mobile outreach team and community health paramedic staff came up with some very creative ways to get people to those charging centers so that they could get their batteries charged and maintain that. Because of the extended power outage, we had many dialysis patients that were not able to receive their dialysis treatment. So instead of taking them to the emergency room, our community health paramedic program set up a process where we could enlist some volunteers to drive them to some centers that were opening in 4-wheel drive vehicles so that they could get their dialysis. And so we were grateful for that, because that helped us take some pressure off of the emergency rooms. And as I said earlier, I got to say a huge thanks to all of our paramedics. They've done an outstanding job of providing care during this time, and I can't tell you how proud I am of all of them. Also, I want to say thank you to all the businesses that donated food for our paramedics. They were out responding to calls, and it's just back-to-back calls, and it's not easy to find food. So thank you so much to the local restaurants that did that. So as Connie and the judge said, we'll be available for questions afterwards. So Judge, back to you.
Mike, thank you for your great leadership. And I want to give a special shout out to our emergency management team. Michael Shue and his senior team are just some of the best, not only in Texas, but in our nation, have really helped guide us and keep us safe as a community. I want to share with you what our road and bridge folks of the county have done during actually now the last 8 days. Road and Bridge Department has been staffed 24 hours a day, working 12-hour shifts. And they've sprayed 850 gallons of pre-treatment on our area roads and highways. They started with mixing a small aggregate with sand to expand the life of sand and give us more quantity. And they were able to put 1,000 tons of the aggregate and sand on our county roadways. And when the snow and the ice became too great, we did what Texans do. We became innovative. We used our rubber tire loaders and our motor graders to clear the ice and to clear the snow. We transported, one of my favorite stories, our Road and Bridge Department transported diesel to a nursing home that had no electricity and only about an hour's worth of diesel. In fact, there's some 90 residents in that nursing home, and our road and bridge guys, I literally believe, save lives. We have 11 different radio towers here in Williamson County that are for the radio communications among law enforcement, and they work tirelessly around the clock to refuel those generators and to refuel the emergency management building, as well as juvenile services and our sheriff's office, as well as our jail. Our road and bridge crew has been amazing. They responded to stranded ambulances, to a stranded fire truck, and they sanded and salted them all back onto the roads. Additionally, they were able to help implement with significant travel problems up north of Georgetown to the Bell County line, literally with hundreds of 18-wheelers that were stuck. Our team was out there trying to clear the road to help them get off of the interstate and off of the service roads. Our Road and Bridge Department, they cleared emergency room driveways at 2 of our hospitals, and they cleared and sanded our warming centers in Florence. And even just this morning, they cleared and they sanded in Hutto an election site. That's right, we have an election starting today, and we used our road and bridge to help clear the ice and the path and our facilities to make sure we had additional generators there. And just in case utilities fell, we had backup porta potties. That's what happens when your Williamson County's engaged. We work together to make a difference and save lives. I want to tell you about one story of exceptionalism. It's an example of a city, it's an example of the county and the state, and it's a wonderful example of private business and neighbors working together. We had gotten word that not only was there power outage, but there had been water outage in the city of Florence for many days. And the problem was that a large transformer with Encore in Florence at 970 and Peterson Street, the transformer was out. And it's just not a small transformer, it was large. It fit on the back of an 18-wheeler. And so we brought all of our folks together to figure out how do we solve this problem. And how it began was the county working with the state of Texas. And we literally took motor graders and we drove them from 195 all of the way to the Florence exit. We used 2 motor graders, we used sanding trucks, and we cleared a path for the Encore team that was coming from Dallas, being escorted by DPS troopers and the Texas Department of Transportation clearing a path for them. When they got to the 195-35 intersection, they had clear roadways all of the way into Florence. Our road and bridge team did an amazing job. And you know what? Encore got there by 8 o'clock last night because of the hard work of the men and women of Williamson County. And they worked all night long while our Constable 3 precinct deputies blocked the road to protect them. And this morning, about 7 o'clock, we were able to get the power turned back on in Florence. And for the residents of Florence and for all of the other areas, I just want to share this with you. As you understand that you may have electricity, many of you are going to be suffering from water loss for the days to come. We know that. We see that and we understand that. I want to tell you about a couple of things that I saw in Florence last evening. I went there myself. I wanted to be there to help. I want to say thank you to our sheriff. We really didn't have a path to get in there. They had no water, and our sheriff and his chief deputy drove 4x4s, four-wheel drive trucks, to get in to Florence with a pallet or a couple of pallets of water. They met at the middle school. The middle school was the only place in Florence at the time that had electricity. And we literally took up their 800 gallons of bottled water. Our sheriff and his team did that. It wasn't too long after that that they used another form of transportation to get more of our deputies into the Florence area so we could help at the shelter, make sure that folks were safe so local law enforcement could go back to doing their job. At the shelter, there were 3 high school boys, just wonderful young men, a freshman in high school, a junior, and then one who was a second year at TSTC. They were filling up everybody's gas cans. You see, they had no electricity and even no gas to run the generators around the local homes. And these 3 boys stood there for a good hour and filled up the gas cans of their neighbors. It was an amazing picture. There were some 20 gas cans or more and people waiting in line just to have fuel for their generator. Then I saw another teenage boy riding around on a four-wheeler, and he had a couple of cans strapped to the back, and he was going from home to home, neighbor to neighbor, filling up their gas in their generator. They were sharing, and they were doing life together. At this makeshift gas depot, as everyone was trying to get fuel back for their generators because we knew it would be another cold night, met a wonderful young couple by the name of Luke and by the name of Lucy. You see, Luke and Lucy showed up with their jug, right, to get a gallon or 2 of gas. And Lucy had made a wonderful homemade soup and fresh bread because of a gas stove and a fireplace. And she was giving out soup to those young men that were out there in the freezing cold, filling up their neighbors' gas tanks. That's what exceptionalism is. It's a private citizens caring one for another and bringing food in the middle of the freezing cold, right? And it's companies like OnCar working as hard as they can, and city leaders there in Florence, along with their law enforcement and fire, doing everything they can to protect and preserve life. Our goal from the very beginning is that we would protect and preserve life. And we have done well, though we have lost one person to the frigid temperatures. And there may be others in the days ahead that we discover. I'm heartbroken because everyone is someone in Williamson County. But our community came together and we worked hard. And I just want to say thank you to all of those businesses. The businesses last night that donated the 30 sandwiches to go to Florence for the warming shelter. I want to say thank you to the businesses that have donated water or that donated generators to help your neighbor. And I want you to know that the help is not over. The freezing snow and sleet is fading away by the great sunrise and sunset the Lord's given us this day, but there will be more suffering because we'll discover broken pipes, broken gas lines, and we just need to be prepared to continue helping our neighbors. Tomorrow, I really want to encourage you on Saturday, make tomorrow Neighbor Helping Neighbors Day. Do it safely, but if you have a chainsaw and your neighbor needs help cutting down branches from their tree, be there to serve them. Check on your neighbor to make sure that they have water, and if they do, then celebrate. If they don't, then boil water or make water safe and share with your neighbor. You may have more in your refrigerator or in your freezer, and you're willing to share with your neighbors who do not. Be willing to do that. I think for the days ahead that we're going to continue to see shortages at our area grocery stores just because the supply chain has been interrupted. But I want to encourage you, share with your neighbor. Make Saturday a special day. And again, to Luke and Lucy, whatever your last name is, thank you for caring about your neighbors and for sharing a hot cup of soup and a cup of coffee. By the way, I saw Luke and Lucy give this family that I told you about earlier, who had been sleeping in the truck, I saw them get a warm cup of soup. And I heard the husband say, thank you. This is the first hot food we've had in days. Luke and Lucy are what makes Williamson County amazing. We've gone through this and we will continue to persevere through this. I want to say to all of you, this is what makes us strong. And what we will see in the days ahead and the weeks ahead is that we have to work one another together. I want to say God bless you and thank you all for your service to our community and your service to our Williamson County, Texas. Now, I think Ms. Odom has some questions for us at this time.
So, Judge, the first question is from Richard Stone. Taylor doesn't have water pressure and according to emergency management cannot get any bottled water or water trucks. Can the county help?
Richard, I think that's a great question. The water supply chain is just like our grocery supply chain. It's very limited. It is my understanding that there is electricity now in Taylor and that there is electricity at the BRA water facility. The answer to your question is it's going to be days before our water systems are back up and running. Each city and each municipality is responsible for their own. The answer to your question is, will the county do something to get water? I want you to know that we've ordered 10 truckloads of water, but the earliest delivery we've been provided information for is Tuesday. And so we have been asking for and ordering water and using it quite a bit in the last few days. And it's going to be a matter of a few days. And in Taylor, there is running water and it's limited and it's low pressure. But I would encourage you, boil your water and consume your water. It is what we have at this time.
Next question is from Allie with Community Impact. And she is asking any updates on the COVID vaccine distribution?
Allie, we do have an update on the COVID vaccine distribution, and I'm going to tell you what I remember, and then I'm going to look at Connie to correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that we are going tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday at Kelly Reeves because they have vaccine with FHS. But other than that, we can't move forward with the curative site this weekend because we literally don't have vaccine in hand. Our vaccine shipment to be used for this past week still hasn't arrived, and it's my understanding that it won't arrive until Monday or Tuesday of next week. Listen, I know that's going to be complicated for those of you that have gotten notices about being vaccinated and now there's no vaccine. I just want to encourage you to take a deep breath. We don't have the vaccine on hand. And so just be patient with us as we wait for that supply system to catch up as well.
See any other questions? Ask real quick if there are. Okay. I don't have any other questions right now, Judge.
All right. I want to say again to Mike and EMS, thank you to your team. You've been amazing. And Sheriff, I want to say thank you to you and your team because you guys have been exceptional. You have not only protected our public, but you've responded to communities in crisis and help us set up shelters. And in fact, you've used your deputies to help pick up 911 staff and get them here to our building. And so we're just grateful. It's amazing what happens when a team works together. You guys have a great weekend. I hope you have electricity. If you have water, celebrate that. And if you have a lot of water, share that with your neighbor. You guys have a great weekend. Thank you.
Okay. Very good.